Okay, I'm back from, back from having my dinner. I had the most wonderful, crispy, fried leg quarters ever. I deserve a raise for how good I can make fried chicken so crispy and yummy. Secret is cornstarch or potato starch. You can use either one. You have like the crispiest chicken. It's wonderful. I love crispy chicken. And then I had a baked potato with it too, so it was delicious. Only meal I've had today, and probably the only meal I'm going to have today, because it started at 6:12, so if I have anything else, it'll probably be, sorry, something sharp down there. Oh, I see. Okay, so the last video, this is part 3. We're still on the same chapter 9 of Zenith 2016, Chapter 9, Will Modern Science Play a Role in the Coming of Apollo? Because we were talking about Apollyon in the video way before that. Okay, so we're on page 222 for those of you who are following along in 2016, and then we can talk about commentary and so forth. Or I can have my commentary. Y'all can't really comment on this unless we're like gonna... Anyway, you know what I mean. Anyway, hold the Biden there. Okay, so as the director of the Future of Humanity Institute and a professor of philosophy at Oxford University, this absolutely blows my mind that we're talking about places that we know of are here, in our world, They're still doing these evil things. Nick Bostrom at www.nickbostrom.com is a leading advocate of transhumanism. Nick Bostrom. That's another guy that's ruining our... Where am I? Right here. In this paragraph here. Can you see it? Do I need to take notes? I don't know, but I like to give everybody the opportunity to do so. So Nick Bostrom at www.nickbostrom.com is a leading advocate of the transhumanism, who as a young man was heavily influenced. He was heavily influenced by the works of Friedrich Nietzsche, from whom the phrase "God is dead" derives. Did y'all know that? I've heard that before. I didn't know who had said that, or I'd forgotten. So Friedrich Nietzsche, and that's Nietzsche. Can y'all see it? Friedrich Nietzsche. Does that help? I don't know. I want to be as helpful as I can. Okay, so Friedrich Nietzsche, from whom the phrase "God is dead" derives, and Goethe, the author of Faust, F-A-U-S-T, Faust. Nietzsche was the originator of the Übermensch, or Overman, that Adolf Hitler dreamed of engineering. An Overman. I didn't know it was called that. I thought it was just, the superior white race that just they wanted it to be pure blood. It's so weird because he wasn't even pure blood, and he was even part Jewish. That's ridiculous. So that Overman that Adolf Hitler dreamed of engineering, and the entity, that man, who is nothing more than a rope tied between beast and Overman, a rope over an abyss, according to Nietzsche, will eventually evolve into, like the ancient watchers before him. Watchers, remember, were fallen angels that mingled human DNA with animals and their seed to produce Nephilim. More on this will be discussed later. Parentheses. Bostrom envisions giving life to Nietzsche's Overman, posthumans, by remanufacturing men with animals. Listen. With animals, plants, and other synthetic life forms through the use of modern sciences, including recombinant DNA technology, germline engineering, and transgenics, in which the genetic structure of one species is altered by the transfer of genes from another. Given that molecular biologists classify the functions of genes within native species yet remain unsure in most cases how a gene's coding might react from one species to another, one should expect the genetic structure of the modified animal humans to be changed into physical appearance, sensory modalities, disease propensity, personality, behavior traits, and more as a result of these modifications. What were we talking about? One of the other videos was how would that affect the brain of the animal human, of the animal hybrid. So I got flour on me from cooking. Remember we were talking about that? And how some of these hybrids did not survive but just for a few hours. Can I say the word abomination and you truly understand the magnitude of that word? It's an abomination. I mean, if we think of it in spiritual or even moral forms, it's definitely an abomination because it's taking the beauty of what my creator of the universe created and mixing and blending it to make something else. My husband. And I'm trying to get this stuff done because, I have a busy household and it's hard with everybody walking in and out, but still got to do it, because I like it and I want to help you and help me through it because it helps me, because honestly, anxiety is an issue these days since this new administration. So, alright, we're on 223. So despite these unknowns, such genetic tinkering as depicted in the movie Splice is already taking place in thousands of research laboratories around the world. Thousands, people. Thousands of research laboratories around the world, including the United States of America. Also Britain and Australia, where animal eggs are being used to create hybrid human embryos from which stem cell lines can be produced for medical research. Australia, see that. Not counting synthetic biology, where entirely new forms of life are being brewed. There's no limit to the number of human-animal concoctions currently under development within openly contracted as well as top-secret science facilities. And, back when I was younger, 20s and teens and all of that, I heard about these secret science facilities. And you see it in movies where they're like way deep underground. And they're really big. They're like their own little cities. And people work there, live there, and they take care of their hybrid monstrosities down there, right? Well, I believe that's happening. I mean, there was this one video about how they call it Hell's Gate, and they put a microphone down there after it became so many degrees of heat or whatever. They put a microphone down there, but all they heard was all these people and doors slamming and just all this talk, and they thought that was hell. I don't think that was hell. I think that that's one of those facilities down there, and they were hearing all of the loudness and all of the progression that's going down there, everything that's happening, people talking, yakking, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it was like in the middle of their lunch arena area that they had all that going on. And then you can also hear some of the monstrosity, some of the hybrids crying out of their cells, because they didn't like being stuck in their cell, It's yeah, I've heard from when I was a kid about these secret facilities. And now, I mean, all of that seems way more relevant now at 54 than it ever did when I was a kid. I mean, those were just like rumors. Those were just like not even hot topics at all. And now they really are. And I think they're everywhere, just like it says. Thousands of research laboratories all over the world. So, not counting synthetic biology, where entirely new forms of life are being brewed, there is no limit to the number of human-animal concoctions currently under development within openly contracted as well as top-secret science facilities. A team at Newcastle and Durham universities in the United Kingdom I was just thinking, that's the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom recently illustrated this when they announced plans to create hybrid rabbit and human embryos. Now, I've already seen a hybrid rabbit-human. I saw that. It is a weird-looking creature, very small, has very long ears, but a human face, and human-like hands, but feet, long feet, kind of like a bunny, like a big bunny, like a big giant. This thing was huge. Small, but bigger than a regular jackrabbit, but not as tall or as big as a human. So I'd say smaller than a regular sized human, but bigger than a jackrabbit. And the expression on this creature's face was fear, but like hopelessness, if that makes any sense. Helplessness, and because it was being handed around and stuff, and by its ears, no less. I mean, here you are, you had the audacity to create such a thing, and then you don't even handle it with respect. I mean, I'm torn between all the moral and ethics of everything. You know, on the one hand, you're breaking your moral ethics by creating such a thing, but then to mishandle it, that's also ethically unsound and terrible. If you're going to create something, I'm not saying that we should not, but if they have the audacity to do such a thing, then they should have reverence and respect for the poor creature that they have endowed with this monstrous life that they have to live out now, unless they murder it, of course, which they have murdered them in the past. They probably still do. They probably make these really scary animal human hybrids that are so fierce looking and so terrifying that they have to end their lives. They have to, because you let that monster out and you can't control it, because its mind is not even, it may be partly human, but it's not, it could be like the worst of the human psyche, you know. Scary stuff. Okay, so hybrid rabbit and human embryos, as well as other chimera is what they call them, embryos mixing human and cow genes. That one got me when I read it earlier, because I know I've heard in the past about a hippo-human hybrid, and that poor animal, if it still exists now, because this was when I was younger when I heard about a hippo-human hybrid, it has to be suffering so much. I can't even imagine splicing a cow with a human and having that thing be any kind of well mentally. What would a poor creature like that even think, you know, about its own existence? I don't even know. Why are we doing this? This is evil. This is wicked evil, my friends. If you don't even know, I mean, when we talk again about how Adam and Eve, you know, we don't know exactly where Adam and Eve came from, but if you read the book, the Bible, it sounds like a lab, like a research lab, like are happening right now. Like these aliens, maybe the Anunnaki, I don't know for sure. I was not there, but I think it may have been something like that, where we are already possibly hybrids of some kind of animal, an alien hybrid, you know. And that could explain why allergies exist, because if you are of this earth, you really are of earth, then why are you allergic to some things? That doesn't make sense to me. Never has. So they create the hybrid rabbit humans, and then the alarmingly have already managed to reanimate tissue. The same researchers, more alarmingly, have already managed to reanimate tissue. I'm telling you, mad scientist stuff here, people. Mad scientists. They're the cuckoo bird flying over the nest, and just the same researchers, more alarmingly, have already managed to reanimate tissue from dead human cells in another breakthrough. They call it another breakthrough which was heralded as a way of overcoming ethical dilemmas over using living embryos for medical research. Oh, so we're going to use dead embryos, reanimate them, experiment on them, and create the undead. I mean, Frankenstein. What was the name of that one science place? Resident Evil, where their experiment got out of hand. And then you had zombies. We already have the zombies with the fentanyl, but can you imagine? Even worse. In the United States, similar studies led Irv Wiseman. Okay, Irv Wiseman. He ain't no wise man if he's doing this stuff. He's a mad scientist. Irv Wiseman, director of Stanford University's Institute of Cancer, Stem Cell Biology, and Medicine in California. Of course, he's from California. Oh, sorry, Californians, but y'all got some mad scientists over there. So, medicine in California to create mice with partly human brains. So we're going to have NIM. What's the name of it? The Secrets of NIM here now. We're going to have little houses with little mice and rats that can talk and have societies and everything. Oh my God. Yeah, I guess that might be more entertaining if you have a mouse that can talk. But ethically, should you keep a mouse that can talk when it can take care of itself, and then you're basically enslaving the little entity to a life of slavery as your pet? How abusive is that? Oh my God. To create mice with partly human brains, causing some ethicists. Why do you even want ethicists? Y'all don't care anymore. If y'all are doing that, you're not ethical at all. Ethicists to raise the issue of humanized animals. Can you believe this shit? Yeah, I'm talking to you.
You're talking to me. Am I live on the air?
Yeah. Can you believe this stuff? We're going to have human or animals that were humanized, and they're going to be able to talk to us. So they're going to have little animal societies, and we're going to be these big giants walking around in little mouse rat societies that can talk to each other. Then we're going to have all these little allegiances with the mice people and the rat people and the dog people. Though there are dog people, I've heard of them.
It sounds like a pretty terrible idea, and yeah, it is kind of weird that they have like the ethicists with it, because
it's obviously not ethical, of course.
Yeah, it seems like something that if you had ethics, you just wouldn't jump into in the first place.
Then why do you want an ethicist? You just want an ethicist just to tell you, well, it could be a problem, but they're still going to go forward with it. So
I guess that's the thing about these people, is that they don't know when to stop, and
yeah, they don't know when to stop.
They just create whatever they think can be created. I mean, I suppose there are ways to be worse about it than others.
Still, the whole thing is being a human. What kind of responsibility do we have? We are so smart. We are the alpha creature on Earth, but we are pushing ourselves out. So the question always remains, is just because we can, should we? And the answer, if you have to ask that question, then no, you should not. That's always the answer. If you have to ask yourself that question, the answer is no. Wouldn't you agree?
Usually, yeah.
Usually, my husband says, usually. So it's crazy with these mad scientists. We are in a world of mad scientists given all kinds of money from our taxes. I mean, that one guy, $773,000. That's a lot of money, $700K plus, to do this wicked research. So the ethicists raise the issue of humanized animals. So not only are we trying to splice human DNA with animals so that we can have these human hybrids, but also we want animal-human hybrids. So we have human-animal hybrids and animal-human hybrids. I get to look at my husband now and give him the look like, can you believe this shit? So, it's ridiculous. If you have to ask yourself the question, Just because we can, should we? The answer should always be no, don't do it. So the issue of humanized animals in the future that could become self-aware as a result of genetic modification. Even former President of the United States, George W. Bush, in his January 31st, 2006 State of the Union address, called for legislation to prohibit creating human-animal hybrids and buying, selling, or patenting, good grief words, patenting human embryos. Can you believe that? He knew what was going on. He's like, But did it stop? No, because his words, right here, his words mostly fell on deaf ears. And now, the chimera, or combination of species, is a subject of serious discussion in certain scientific circles. But is it going to stop? And see, this is written 2016, and it was in 2006 that George W. Bush said, hey, no, and everybody just went, I don't hear what he's saying. Let's continue forward. So, is a subject of serious discussion in certain scientific circles, writes Senior Counsel for the Alliance Defense Fund, Joseph Infranco. We are well beyond the science fiction of H.G. Wells. Tormented hybrids in the island of Dr. Moreau. Dr. Moreau. Have you seen that movie? Yeah, that's what that is. The hybrid animal people living on Dr. Moreau's island. And he was like king of the animal people. And he was like the god. And he was like giving them all these religious restrictions and everything to subdue their animal natural instincts. And they mustn't be violent and all of that. And these poor creatures walking around, half human, half animal. I believe they finally turned on their creator. Just like Frankenstein. We're in mad scientistville here. We are in a time where scientists are seriously contemplating the creation of human-animal hybrids. When describing the benefits of man with beast combination in his online thesis, Trans-Humanist Values, Bostrom cites how animals have sonar, magnetic orientation, or sensors for electricity and vibration, among other extra-human abilities. He goes on to include how the range of sensory modalities for transhumans would not be limited to those among animals, and that there is no fundamental block to adding, say, a capacity to see infrared radiation or to perceive radio signals, and perhaps to add some kind of telepathic sense by augmenting our brains. A position verified by the U.S. National Science Foundation and Department of Commerce in the report Converging Technologies for Improving Human Performance. Okay, another question just popped up into my head. So you do this, and you make all these animal-human hybrids. Who are these? Are they going to be productive people in society? Are they going to have families? Are they even able to reproduce? And what are they going to reproduce with? A human being? An animal? What? I mean, these are the ethics, these are the morals that we need to ask ourselves. Because don't you think an adult human-animal hybrid, when it reaches its peak of sexuality, is gonna want to copulate? What's it gonna do it with? Who's gonna get hurt? Because we know that animal anatomy is different than human anatomy, and you cross a bull with a human, he's likely to be as hung as a real bull. That's gonna hurt some female somewhere if she's stupid enough to copulate with it. And I've heard of women stupid enough to copulate with stuff. Be right back. Okay, so let's see. Where were we? I had to go check on the rest of the chicken that was in there. I have one left to cook. I'm still cooking. I'll put them up for tomorrow. Let's see. Okay, so he goes on to include how the range of sensory modalities Yeah. Well, I think I read that already. Let me check. Okay, well, he goes on to include how the range of sensory modalities for transhumans would not be limited to those among animals, and that there is no fundamental block to adding, say, a capacity to see infrared radiation or to perceive radio signals, and perhaps to add some kind of telepathic sense by augmenting our brains. A position verified by the U.S. National Science Foundation and Department of Commerce in the report, Converging Technologies for Improving Human Performance. Bostrom and the U.S. government are correct in that the animal kingdom has levels of perception beyond human. Some animals can sense earthquakes and smell tumors. Others, like dogs, can hear sounds as high as 40,000 hertz, and dolphins can hear even higher. It is also known that at least some animals see wavelengths beyond normal human capacity. This is where things start getting interesting, perhaps even supernatural, as Bostrom may understand and anticipate. According to the biblical story of Balaam's donkey, certain animals see into the spirit world. Balaam's donkey is like when Paul was trying to leave a city, and he was on a donkey, and the Lord spoke to the donkey and told him not to pass. He put an angel in his way, and then he asked the donkey, "What are you doing?" He says, "I cannot pass." The donkey actually talked to him. Oh my! So that makes you wonder: has this, been done before? I think so. Honestly, it has been. And then the consequence of that was the flood, and that's in every religion. There was the great not the dirge, the great flood, but there was something that they called it. I forgot what it's called. I'll find out. Anyway, it's in every religion about the flood, how it came upon the world as a punishment. Hold on. Okay, so that's my oldest adult daughter. Came in, say hi. She'd been on a mini outing for a day. Okay, so where were we? Okay, dolphins can hear higher. Okay, this is where things start getting interesting, perhaps even supernatural, as Bostrom may understand and anticipate. So according to the biblical story of Balaam's donkey, certain animals see into the spirit world. Contemporary and secular studies likewise indicate animals may at times be reacting to intelligence beyond normal human perception. Will this have peculiar consequences for enhanced humans with animal DNA? No! Not at all. Yes, it will. Good grief. Early in this book, we described how opening supernatural gateways that exist within the mind can be achieved through altered mental states induced by psychoactive drugs such as DMT and absinthe. Do transhumanists and or military scientists, mad scientists, imagine a more stable pathway or connection with the beyond, the ability to see into other dimensions or the spirit world? As a result of brain enhancement through integrating men with beasts, is that what they're planning? So as a result of brain enhancement through integrating men with beasts? ? Do they envision a reopening the portions of the mind that some scholars believe were closed off following the fall of man? Even the scientists believe in the fall of man. That's interesting, since they're batshit. This is, what it reminds me of is like the Tower of Babel, where all the humans on Earth were getting together and they were creating a giant tower to get back to heaven. Because at one point, if you read the lost books of Adam and Eve, the forgotten books of Adam and Eve, it talks about how you could still see heaven in the sky from the earth. And I wonder about that. Is it like a spaceship that they were seeing? Like they knew that that's where their creators were in that spaceship, and they saw that in the sky? I wonder about that. Or was it literally a paradise, a heaven in the sky that we used to be able to see from the earth? What do you think? Not sure. The more I study, the more I realize, the more I don't understand, or the more I don't know. And I'm only wise to like this much. Because let's face it, if we come to Earth, if reincarnation is true, and we come to Earth and we forget everything from the past life, and then we're living a whole new life with a blank slate, how can we ever know? How can we ever understand, why we're here or anything? I don't understand the machine. I don't get it. I know that there's a creator, my creator, the great creator in the world. I get that. But the question remains, always, who is that? And why? Guess we'll know when we cross over. Let's just hope there is no hell, right? Because that Dante's Inferno is freaking scary stuff, man. Even Buddha has a hell that's even scarier. Lordy. Why? Why? If it's true, then you're giving your creation, you're not helping them at all. They have a disadvantage because they can't remember what they did wrong in their past life. I think that's a disadvantage. Okay. So do transhumanists and or military scientists imagine a more stable pathway or connection with the beyond? The ability to see into other dimensions or spirit world? And that's where I was going with the Tower of Babel, where all the people got together and they were making this tower to go back up to try to get into heaven. Okay, to see God, to talk to God, to be a part of God's world again. And they were succeeding. And some teachings about the Tower of Babel is that the tower itself was actually like an interdimensional gateway of different paths to different dimensions, etc., etc. And I wondered about that. And then CERN happened, and the rumors on CERN is that they are opening dimensional gateways. So if this tower, and they were being successful, and then it says in the book that they looked down and they saw that the humans were being successful, and that's when they decided to split them up, races and languages all over the world. And so then it was called the Tower of Babel because no one could understand each other to get the work completed. And I think it was more high-tech than what we envision sometimes in the Bible. But yeah. So the ability to see into other dimensions or the spirit world as a result of brain enhancement through integrating men with beasts. Do they envision reopening the portions of the brain that some scholars believe were closed off following the fall of man? So late philosopher and scientist Terence McKenna, originator of novelty theory, speculated that brain enhancement following technological singularity might accomplish this very thing. Contact with other dimensional beings. More recently at Arizona State University, ASU, where the Templeton Foundation has been funding a long series of pro-transhumanist lectures titled Facing the Challenges of Transhumanism. They are preparing for this. So facing the challenges of transhumanism, religion, science, technology. Some of the instructors agree that radical alteration of Homo sapiens could open the door to unseen intelligence. Consequently, in 2009, ASU launched another study, this time to explore discovery of and communication with entities. Okay, we all know in the magic realm, when you're talking to entities, spirit entities, some are bad, some are good, but they're all demonic, honestly. A demon can talk to you sweetly. A demon can be nice to you and say, oh, I am Princess Christina of the such something Atlantica dynasty and fool you. I don't talk to spirit. That's why I don't talk to them. The only thing I have to say, if there's any spirit or anything around me, I'm like, get out. I don't have time to find out who you are, know who you are, or any of that. Get out of my house, period. Because you go playing around with them and they will talk to you. You don't need to be talking to them. Why are they doing this? This is like a rip in reality. And I don't know what good they think they're going to get out of it, because anything and everything that's out there that isn't by the throne of God is going to be something malevolent. Honestly. Are you nuts? Yes, they're nuts. Mad scientists. I told you. Cuckoo. So this project is called the Sophia Project, after the Greek goddess. Oh, here we go. So the express purpose of this university study is to verify communication with deceased people. Oh. With deceased people, with spirit guides, angels, otherworldly entities, extraterrestrials. Oh, those really love talking to you. And or a universal intelligence, i.e. God. Do you remember the story of the 3 people that thought they were so great that they were going to try to cast out demons in Jesus' name, and the demons ended up stripping them naked and beating the hell out of them, and they were run out of town naked and bruised? Yeah, that's going to happen to these guys. That's called, they're going to open a can of whoop ass. That's what's going to happen. And you're going to think you're in charge. You're going to, these people, they all think that they can control demons, and they can control things. And how dare you? How dare you think that you're going to go before the King of Kings and the throne of God and actually have a conversation with God in his very presence without dying? Abraham wasn't even allowed to see God. When he went up on the mountain with the burning bush, God said, get in the crack of this mountain, because if you see me, if you look upon my countenance, you will die. He's basically saying, if you look at me, I'll kill you. These people are cray-cray. So all that Abraham could see was just like the arm, of him walking by the crevice in the mountain, because he wasn't allowed to look upon God's face. Because he said he would die if you looked at me, you'll die. And these people have the audacity to think that they're going to go in the presence of God, and it's going to be all right. Now that would be a news story. That suddenly all over the world, in China, in Australia, in the United States, scientists blah 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 opened a portal, and the journal says that he was talking to God, or was going to talk to God. But all the bodies in the facility showed that did not work out. Every one of them died. I can imagine that report, because God ain't having it. Try to get in there without being invited. Abraham himself might come out of there and talk to you, tell you how nuts you are, shut down the facility. So imagine what this could mean if government laboratories with unlimited budgets, working beyond congressional review, were to decode the gene functions that lead animals to have preternatural capabilities? Preternatural capabilities of sense, smell, sight, and then blended them with Homo sapiens, among other things, something that perhaps DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, has envisioned for years could be created for use against entire populations? Genetically engineered Nephilim agents that appear to be human, but that hypothetically see and even interact with invisible forces? Overnight, the rules of spiritual warfare, as well as regular warfare, would take on an unprecedented, at least in modern times, dimension. These people are crazy. That's what happened the last time they started messing with the DNA. They created the Nephilim. And what did God do? He said, hey, Noah, make an ark. You're the only family that's going to survive. because he couldn't stand all of the genetically modified things running on the earth at that time. There has to be some truth to that, because we all know that the earth was covered in water at one point. So enhanced humans, the new Nephilim arms race. While the former chairman of the President's Council on Bioethics, Leon Kass, does not elaborate on issues of spiritual warfare, he provided a status report on how real and how imminent the dangers of GRIN technologies could be in the hands of transhumanists. In the introduction to his book, Life, Liberty, and the Defense of Dignity, The Challenges of Bioethics, Kass warned. He warned, human nature itself lies on the operating table ready for alteration, for eugenic and psychic enhancement, for wholesale redesign. In leading laboratories, academic and industrial, new creators are confidently amassing their powers and quietly honing their skills, while on the street, their evangelists, transhumanists, are zealously prophesying a post-human future. For anyone who cares about preserving our humanity, the time has come for paying attention. Pay attention, people. Okay. The warning by Kass of the potential hazards of emerging technologies, coupled with transhumanist aspirations, is not an overreaction. Our law school in the United Kingdom, where students are taught crime scene investigation, is already discussing the need to add classes in the future devoted to analyzing crime scenes committed by post-humans. I was telling you earlier. The requirements for such specially trained law enforcement personnel will arise due to part human, part animal beings possessing behavior patterns not consistent with present-day profiling of forensics understanding. Add to this other unknowns such as memory transference, as entirely new field of study suggesting that complex behavior patterns and even memories can be transferred from donors of large human organs to their recipients. And the potential for tomorrow's human-animal chimera issues multiplies. How would the memory, behavior patterns, and instincts, for instance, of a wolf affect the mind of a human? That such unprecedented questions will have to be dealt with sooner than later has already been illustrated to animal experiments, including those conducted by Evan Balaban at McGill University in Montreal. It's all over the world, where sections of brain from embryonic quails were transplanted into the brains of chickens, and the resultant chicken exhibited head bobs and vocal trills unique to quail. The implication from this field of study alone proves that complex behavior patterns can be transferred from one species to another, strongly suggesting that transhumans will likely bear unintended behavior and appetite disorders that could literally produce lycanthropes, that's a werewolf, and other nightmarish Nephilim traits. A real human werewolf. So as troubling as those thoughts are, some in government and science communities believe these dangers could be just the tip of the iceberg. No kidding, mister. One-on-one interpersonal malevolence by human animals might quickly be overshadowed by global acts of swarm violence. The seriousness of this for the conceivable future is significant enough that a recent House Foreign Affairs HFA committee, chaired by California Democrat Brad Sherman, oh my God, a Democrat. Sorry, Democrats, but y'all don't have a good reputation right now. Brad Sherman, best known for his expertise on the spread of nuclear weapons and terrorism, is among a number of government panels currently studying the implications of genetic modification and human transforming technologies related to future terrorism. I just can't believe these people, man, what they're doing. My goodness. And then these creatures that are alive, I mean, there's things they're not even thinking about. Where are these people going to live? Where are these animal humans going to live? Who are they going to make a family with? Can they have families? Are they going to be androgynous? Are they going to create them androgynous? Are they going to create them male and female? What are they going to do? Because that has to be taken into effect. Every single life form has the ability or the need to reproduce itself, period. Especially in the animal kingdom. Humans are the only creature that can decide, I'm not going to have a baby. And go against that will. Other creatures, they automatically do it. Okay, so where were we? You had to take a moment to get the last piece of chicken out. Got them all put away, ready to go. Alright. So let's see. I was telling about this. Okay, California Democrat Brad Sherman, best known for his expertise on the spread of nuclear weapons and terrorism. Okay, and okay, so I'm pretty sure I haven't read this part. If I have read this part, I'm sorry. Distracted by stuff. Okay, so he was expertise in the spread of nuclear weapons and terrorism. He is among the number of government panels currently studying the implications of genetic modification. Okay, and human transforming technologies related to future terrorism. Congressional Quarterly columnist Mark Stencil listened to the FHA committee hearings and wrote in his March 15, 2009 article, Futurists, Genes Without Borders, that the conference sounded more like a Hollywood pitch for a sci-fi thriller than a sober discussion of scientific reality, with talk of biotech's potential for creating super soldiers, super intelligence, and super animals that could become agents of unprecedented lethal force. Whose DNA are they using for all this is what I wonder. George Annis, Laurie Andrews, and Rosario Isasi were even more apocalyptic in their American Journal of Law and Medicine article, Protecting the Endangered Human, toward an international treaty prohibiting cloning and inheritable alterations, when they wrote, the new species of post-human will likely view the old normal humans as inferior, even savages, and fit for slavery or slaughter. The normals, on the other hand, may see the post-humans as a threat, and if they can, may engage in preemptive strike by killing the post-humans before they themselves are killed or enslaved by them. I mean, I guess maybe, but I think that we, the normies, the normal people, would want to fight for this not to become a reality, even though it already is right now. And it's becoming a reality because we didn't know. It is ultimately this predictable potential for genocide that makes species-altering experiments potential weapons of mass destruction and makes the unaccountable genetic engineer a potential bioterrorist. Yes! Indeed, for sure. Hold on. But indeed, for sure, I say anyone working on anything that has the potential to wipe out millions of human beings is a terrorist. A bioterrorist, a chemical terrorist, whatever you want to call it. I mean, we know that the other thing that they created was definitely that, right? Do you not know? Definitely was. Sad, but true. And if you haven't been paying attention, you need to look around. Don't just let things happen to you, especially without knowing why. Bioterrorists, yeah, for sure. Just because a human can create these hybrids doesn't mean we should. Especially if you have to ask yourself that question, the answer is always no. Should we? No. Should I create this virus? No. Should I create this animal hybrid? No. Should I create cyberborg people, trans-humanism people? No. 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 Zip it. As Dr. Evil will tell his son Scott. Scott! Scott! What do you want now, Dad? Ugh. Don't talk to me like that. Okay, so observations like those of Annis Andrews and Isasi support Professor Hugo de Garis' nightmarish vision of a new future wherein Artilects and posthumans join against normals in an incomprehensible war leading to giga-death. Notwithstanding such warnings, the problem could be unavoidable, as Professor Gregory Stock, in his well-researched and convincing book, Redesigning Humans, Our Inevitable Genetic Future, argues that stopping what we have already started, planned genetic enhancement of humans, is impossible. We simply cannot find the brakes. As my husband always says, they don't know how far to go and then they don't know how to stop. Werner Vinge, or Vinge, or Vinge, however you want to pronounce that word, Vinge, agrees, adding, even if all the governments of the world were to understand the threat and be in deadly fear of it, progress towards the goal would continue. Why? Why? Do you get it? Got mad scientists on the loose. And why? Why? Because of money, honey. In fact, the competitive advantage, economic, military, even artistic, or of every advance in automation is so compelling that passing laws or having customs that forbid such things merely assures that someone else will get them first. In what the writers of this book found to be a bit unnerving, academic scientists and technical consultants to the U.S. Pentagon have advised the agency that the principal argument of Vinge is correct. I'm just going to say Vinge, V-I-N-G-E. Vinge is correct. As such, the United States could be forced into large-scale species-altering output, including human enhancement for military purposes. This is based on solid military intelligence, which suggests that America's competitors and potential enemies are privately seeking to develop the same this century and use it to dominate the U.S. if they can. Get in line. Everyone's trying to do it, and right now Biden is succeeding. Had a thought maybe that's where those locust-typed demons that come out of the abyss that John saw in his vision, I believe it was John. Maybe it's exactly, literally what he described. Locust-like demons with horse bodies and human face and long hair and wings that sounded like 1,000 horses, or however many horses he said, running across the earth. Maybe it's not helicopters. Maybe it's literally a genetically modified creature. Human animal DNA crap. Oh my goodness. And it would go about stinging mankind, all those that didn't have the seal of God in their forehead. Why do I put myself through this? I don't know. Okay, coming back to center, trying not to be freaked out about everything. Here we go. As such, the United States could be forced into large-scale species-altering output, including human enhancement for military purposes. This is based on solitary military intelligence, which suggests the America's competitors and potential enemies are privately seeking to develop the same this century and use it to dominate the U.S. if they can. This worrisome government think tank scenario is even shared by the Jasons. Who are the Jasons? The celebrated scientists of the Pentagon's most prestigious scientific advisory panel, who now perceive Mankind 2.0 as the next arms race. Just as the old Soviet Union and the United States with their respective allies competed for supremacy in nuclear arms following the Second World War through the 1980s, what is now commonly known as the nuclear arms race during the Cold War. The Jasons are worried about adversaries' ability to exploit advances in human performance modification and thus create a threat to national security. This is just going all over the place. When are we going to stop warring? Why? Why are we... thus create a threat to national security, wrote military analyst Noah Shotman in Top Pentagon Scientists Fear Brain-Modified Foes. This recent special for Wired magazine was based on a leaked military report in which the Jasons admitted concern over neuropharmaceutical performance enhancement and brain-computer interfaces technology being developed by other countries ahead of the United States. The Jasons are recommending that the American military push ahead with its own performance enhancement research. With whose kids are you going to do this, military of America? Our kids? That's what I'd like to know. Whose children are you going to be experimenting on? So I warned my son. I said, you be careful what they put in your body when you go into the Marines, because I'm worried about you. Because I had heard of them experimenting on them. And of course he told me I was a conspiracy theorist and none of that is happening. And I guess he hasn't read this. Of course he's 34 now, so he's already out. So the Jasons are recommending that the American military push ahead with its own performance enhancement research and monitor foreign studies to make sure that the U.S. enemies don't suddenly become smarter, faster, or better able to endure the harsh realities of war than American troops. So not only are they going to send your babies out there to fight these wars for these old people that only want the resources of the country and they don't care about your kids, but now we're going to experiment on your babies. So not only do they get PTSD, but they also get modified. If that doesn't make you angry, I don't know what does. What will? The article continued. The Jasons are particularly concerned about new technologies that promote brain plasticity, rewiring the mind, essentially, by helping to prematurely establish new neural pathways. So go in and scramble your kids' brains. And thus new cognitive capabilities. Yeah, but they're not all going to be 100% effective or 100% successful. So the ones that they do experiment on and they scramble their brains that don't make it, well, then you're going to get a letter saying that your child died, had an honorable death, in the middle of combat or something. But then the reality is that they actually did experiments on your boy or your daughter. So glad that mine came back safe and sound. And as far as I know, no experiments were done on him. Though it might be tempting to disregard the conclusion by the Jasons as a rush to judgment on the emerging threat of technosapiens, it would be a serious mistake to do so. As Grin Technologies continues to race toward an exponential curve parallel to these advances, will be the increasingly sophisticated argument that societies must take control of human biological limitations and move the species, or at least some of its members, into a new form of existence. Professor Nigel M. de S. Cameron, Director for the Council for Biotechnology Policy in Washington, D.C., documents this move, concluding that the genie is out of the bottle and that the federal government's National Nanotechnology Initiative's website already gives evidence of this kind of future vision in which human dignity is undermined by being transformed into post-humans. Dr. C. Christopher Hook, a member of the Government Committee on Human Genetics who has given testimony before the U.S. Congress, offered similar insight on the state of the situation. The goal of posthumanism is most evident in the degree to which the U.S. government has formally embraced transhumanist ideals and is actively supporting the development of transhumanist technologies. The U.S. National Science Foundation, together with the U.S. Department of Commerce, has initiated a major program, NBIC, for converging several technologies, including those from which the acronym is derived: nanotechnology, biotechnologies, information technologies, and cognitive technologies, e.g., cybernetics and neurotechnologies, for the express purpose of enhancing human performance. The NBIC program director, Mihail Rocco, declared at the second public meeting of the project that the expenditure of financial and human capital to pursue the needs of re-engineering humanity by the U.S. government will be second in equivalent value only to the moon landing program. These people are crazy. They're out of their minds. They're mad scientists. Every one of them. The presentation by Mihail Rocco, to which Dr. Hook refers, is contained in the 482-page report, Converging Technologies for Improving Human Performance, commissioned by the U.S. National Science Foundation and Department of Commerce. Among other things, the report discusses planned applications of human enhancement technologies in the military and in rationalization of the human-machine interface in industrial settings, where DARPA is devising nano, bio, info, and cogno scenarios focused on enhancing human performance. The plan echoes a Mephistophelian bargain, a deal with the devil, in which a golden age merges technological and human cognition into a single, distributed, and interconnected brain. That's that hive mind again, right? Just visiting the U.S. Army Research Laboratory's website is dizzying. It makes you dizzy in this regard, with its cascading pages of super soldier technology categories, including molecular genetics and genomics, biochemistry, microbiology, and biodegradation, and neurophysiology and cognitive neurosciences. If writers like us can so easily discover these factors on the web, just imagine what is happening in special access programs, SAPS, where, according to the Senate's own Commission on Protecting and Reducing Government Secrecy, there are hundreds of waived SAPS, that's special access programs, the blackest of black programs, functioning at any given time beyond congressional oversight. Because of this, and given the seriousness of weaponized biology and human enhancement technology blossoming so quickly, on May 24, 2010, a wide range of experts from the military, the private sector, and academia gathered in Washington, D.C. for an important conference titled Warring Futures, a future tense event, how biotech and robotics are transforming today's military, and how that will change the rest of us. Participants explored how human enhancement and related technologies are unfolding as an emerging battlefield strategy that will inevitably migrate to the border culture and what that means for the future of humanity. As the conference website noted, new technologies are changing warfare as profoundly as did gunpowder. How are everything from flying robots as small as birds to peak warrior performance, biology, human enhancement altering the nature of military as an institution as well as the ethics and strategy of combat? How will the adoption of emerging technologies by our forces or others affect our understanding of asymmetrical conflict? The new technologies are always embraced wherever there is the greatest competition for advantage, but quickly move out to the rest of us not to engage in sport or warfare. Okay, it is hot in here even with the air conditioning going. To go cool off a little bit. So we're on page 232, Zenith 2016. Strongly encourage all of you to get this book. It is amazing. There's so much to go over, so much to study. So Thomas Horn is the author of this book. And let's see what it says. Okay, so Zenith 2016 reveals for the first time, unveiled, it started in 2012, the secret Freemasonic countdown for a global world leader circa 2016. Disclosed how recent U.S. presidents and other global leaders are and have been deeply involved in the scheme to enthrone the man of sin. Found the hidden connection between the year 2012, 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2019. Is it really the end? ? Revealed what the world has never heard about the end of the Mayan calendar. The role that Pope Francis, the final pope, may play in the year 2016 during the installation of the king of the NWO. The 800-year-old prophecy of Rabbi Judah ben Samuel and what it says about the time frame 2012 to 2016. What Protestant reformers believed about the year 2012-2016. Discover what they expected to happen and predicted. Blood moons in 2014-2015, feast days, and the comet of the century. Is God himself preparing to light the first real candle of Hanukkah? The return of the Watchers and the mysterious worldwide connection between these angelic Nephilim creators and the numbers 33, 2012, and 2016. Internationally acclaimed investigative author Thomas Horn uncovers what you can expect to unfold in the coming days and, more importantly, what you can do to be prepared for the arrival of the kingdom of Antichrist. And it's amazing. He's done all this research. All right here in one place. Of course, like I said, he also has this one. I'm sure more. These are the two I'm working with right now. Okay, so the impressive list of speakers at the D.C. conference included Vice Admiral Joseph W. Dyer, U.S. Navy retired, President of the Government and Industrial Robots Division at iRobot, Major General Robert E. Robert E. Schmidl Jr., United States Marine Corps, led for the 2010 quadrennial defense. Okay, read that again because I had to take a moment. Let's see. So, Government and Industrial Robots Division at iRobot, Major General Robert E. Schmidl Jr., United States Marine Corps, led for the 2010 quadrennial defense review. Robert Wright, author of The Evolution of God and a global governance fellow. P.W. Singer, Senior Fellow and Director of the 21st Century Defense Initiative at the Brookings Institution, Stephen Tillery from the Harrington Department of Bioengineering at Arizona State University, and John Mogford, Acting Deputy Director of the Defense Sciences Office at DARPA. Okay, I've kept you for a little too long on this video, but we'll continue after that. And I'm glad that he gives you all the places that are involved, because we're here to find out what are the roots of all of the stuff going on with our society right now. And these are part of the roots. These are the people that are in charge of these branches and the roots of this system that obviously is not finished into coming into being. And we have a long road now of all kinds of atrocities, evils coming into the world that they're going to be calling good, and that we're going to face, and in the faces of our children. Our children have been indoctrinated into these things. Alright, so I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for listening.